Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about a dream that I had today that made me wake up confused and also hopeful at the same time. To first get to know a little bit about me is that I've always dreamt of running away. I never really had a blissful family. Well, that's not entirely true. Um, I am blessed, and I think everybody is blessed, and I never take that for granted. I don't want to seem greedy or selfish, like I'm asking for more than I already have. But I never really felt loved within my family, and I always fantasized about running away. Ever since I was a little girl, I would plan out an escape plan. I would call it my great escape or something like that when I was 7 or 9. And I had this big backpack. It was a Dora backpack. And I would always look in the fridge and I'd be like, okay, I could take a little bit of everything, these food, and put it in my bag, and I could distribute it throughout the days and run away. And I could drink water from the library water fountain. And I could sleep somewhere sound like the park or the library or something like this. I was a child, so I believed that every place was a safe place. This was back when I lived abroad in England. And I used to fantasize about escaping. Till this day, every time have a minor problem, I always think about just running away in the middle of the night, closing everything, taking only the important bits, a couple of food, my money that I've saved up, and just opening the door and running away in the middle of the night. No one's going to stop me. I can order a taxi and I could just leave so simply. But for how long and to where? It was easier when I used to think about it when I was abroad. But now that I am in my home country, which isn't even a home country, it's just the country that I live in because, well, it never felt like home. I can't do something like that because multiple reasons: society, bad government, bad law, and it wouldn't be considered running away since I'm 20, but I think it would still be considered illegal in my country, since we are quite conservative, especially if the matter is related to women, which is a bad thing in my opinion. I don't really like the oppressive society, especially if it's only focused towards women and neglects the men. So I dreamt that my uncle and his family, they went to the north. I've always wanted to go to the north. I've never been. My father won't take me. My father's family, whom I usually travel with, don't like the north. They only like conservative religious places, which bothers me because I am religious, but not to the point where it's extremely conservative and there is sectarism. If anybody who's listening is from an Arabic country, you'd know what I'm talking about. Religious places aren't everybody's cup of tea, especially if you don't fit their ideology or their standard religious or fixed religious belief. So I was never really a big fan of anywhere we go to. And in my dream, my uncle's family went abroad to the north, and they didn't take me. And I went to their house. My dad was dropping me off in my uncle's house, and my uncle's family and my grandparents live in the same house. Since my grandparents are old, they can't live by themselves. My grandpa's always out and about, working, and my grandma doesn't like to stay by herself. Or she cannot stay by herself because she's old and tired. So I knocked on the door in my dream, and my dad dropped me off in their house. And I entered, and they told me your uncle and his family, they're abroad. They went to the north. And I was like, what? But they promised they'd take me. And I was really devastated, and I was angry, and I was crying, and in my dream, A month went by. I would sleep and wake up, sleep and wake up, sleep and wake up for 30 days. And I would be devastated every time I woke up because I would think that, they love me enough to take me. And then later on, I found out that in real life, they have actually went up north and they didn't take me when they promised they would. So I was also devastated and upset all over again. And I remember in my dream, one night I packed a backpack full of things and I ran away. I opened the door quietly and I escaped. And I remember the street of my grandparents' house. It was always awake, even in the night. It never went to bed. And I would walk and walk and walk until I reached a store called Cities, which is a clothing store. And I found a man selling stuff there. And he was an old man, and I told him I was tired. Can I please sit next to you? And he offered me shelter. And he said, yes, you can. And I told him that I would help him. He was selling a couple of trinkets, like accessories, keychains, and water bottles. And I told him that I would help you sell water and sell these things if you offer me shelter. I can walk around the streets. I'm sorry. I could walk around the streets and help you sell these things. And day after day went by. We had very little to keep us alive. We were just buying basic things. And I told him that my dreams was to run away and become something or someone. But now I don't even have a piece of bread or water to quench my thirst. Until one day, I was selling water bottles, and I come across a man who gave me a 25 dinar bill, which is not a lot. It is actually a lot, yes, in our society, but it's not a lot in other, maybe in dollars. I think it would be like $20 or $15. I'm not really sure. Somewhere around $15 to $20. And I told him a bottle of water is for like a quarter, less than a quarter of this bill, like a really small amount. It's for like a quarter of a dinar, and you gave me 25 dinar. And he said, no, keep the rest for you, it's for you. I don't even want the water bottle, but I'll take one. And I said, thank you. And then a woman came and did the same. And then so many people came and did the same, that I had no more bottles to sell. And the old man was looking at me, and I saw him get confused in his eyes. And he also, at the same time, he got sad because I sensed from the way that he was looking that I was going to leave him, take the money and leave. And I didn't. I went to him and I said, let's split this bill. Half of it is for you, half of it is for me. We can continue to do this because in my dream, I noticed that being rich or being happy or, finding comfort doesn't necessarily mean being rich in money. I was living with an old man in one room, okay? That was also the place we would sell things from. And I was happy. We were eating simple food. We were cold in the winter and really hot in the summer. We had no air conditioning and no radiator to keep us warm. But I was at comfort because the person was comforting. And then I woke up. And I remember I learned so much from this. I learned that maybe that's the problem. The problem isn't money, the problem isn't wealth. The problem is that I don't really find much comfort within my family. I don't think they accept me as I am. I have a different mindset from them. I think differently. I also act differently. And I come from a very traditional, conservative family where everything is considered a sin and you get punished for everything. And that's all they think about. They never think about the good things in life. They never think about the good things I've contributed or I've done. And that makes me sad. That makes me want to leave. The feeling of not being accepted. I remember when I was a little girl, my father would always make it as though that I am not accepted in his eyes. I'm not loved. He would always get angry at me over the smallest things that he thought were morally wrong. For example, I remember one time I was 5 and I put on some lipstick from my mother's lipstick and I went out with it to school. Sorry, not to school. We were just like walking somewhere. I don't really remember where. But the point is I went outside. And I came back home and my dad saw me and he slapped me across my face. And I started to bleed. And I remember it vividly till this day. Because there was nothing wrong with a child putting on some lipstick, but just because he thought that lipstick was morally and religiously wrong. And he didn't want me to, like my mom never put it outside, so he didn't want me to do something like this. That he did something like hitting me instead of talking to me. Until this day, from that moment, I never felt like I belonged in the house. I always felt like running away. I always felt like leaving. I've always felt like I should be somewhere else. And even when I'm happy, the sad moments are more than the happiest ones. I've always envied other people who have a better life, people who have a good family. And my family, they always tell me, why do you want to go abroad? Why do you want to leave? Why are you in such a hurry? Stay here, get a job here, enjoy your life here. But they don't understand that they're the problem. That I'm running away not from the country, but from you. Because you made me hate the country. You made me hate the people. You always stand with everything that is against me and never once with me. You never appreciate me as I am or accept me as I am. My uncle, my father, they won't go out with me unless I'm dressed in a way that suits them, their perspective. They don't care about my perspective. What if I don't like your idea? What if I don't like your way? They won't care. They want only for them. They want to control the body and the mind that is not theirs in their way. And I think this is where our society is wrong. I think our society, or the parents in my society, they want to build copies of themselves. They don't understand that having a child is a huge responsibility. When you want to have a child, you should consider that this person is going to be a completely different person. Just because they are your child doesn't mean they're going to end up like you. They're going to have a different mindset, maybe the same, maybe different. Maybe they're going to think different things. They're going to be influenced by different stuff. So it's your responsibility as a person, as a parent, to give them unconditional love, no matter how they think. Because they are somebody else. They are not you. They are another being. And my family never once made me feel like I was someone else. I was always supposed to be molded into their ideologies, their thoughts, their feelings, even their perspectives about things, even their feelings. When they're happy, I'm supposed to be happy. When they're sad, I'm supposed to be sad. The things that don't make my father happy, they're supposed to not make me happy as well. Even, for example, I like to sing, I like to play guitar, I like to do a lot of creative work. And I remember my dad would always tell me that, why are you drawing? You should be studying instead. I don't like drawing. I don't like music. I don't like the sound of this. Don't do it. It's wrong. And he would prevent me from it. They don't understand that I like this thing. I have a different perspective. I think differently. I have different hobbies. That's what makes humans different from each other. If everybody is copied and pasted from their family, then we wouldn't have new ideas, new generations, and new humans. This isn't. I've noticed this throughout my whole life. I read somewhere that the first 4 years of a child's life is very important, because in those years the child is ready to make a friendship, not just a relationship, but a friendship with their parents. And everything that their parents do in these 4 or 5 years of their lives is reflected on the child, and then it is portrayed in their behavior in the future. And the thing is, I don't remember anything good in the first couple of years of my life. I remember that lipstick incident. I remember multiple other incidents where I was hurt for things that were considered morally wrong in my father's or parents or even my uncles and other parts of my family, in their eyes. So I always thought that I want to run away from the country. I always thought that the country is the problem, the society is the problem, the weather is the problem, it's too hot here, everything is a problem, But I never, until I had that dream, I noticed that the people are the problem. I could probably live in this country if I was living with the right people. I would adapt to it and get used to it and be happy with it. Just like my friends are happy with their lives in there. They don't want to go abroad. But I only want to go abroad because I want to go somewhere where I know nobody, where my family cannot follow, where I can start a fresh start and be accepted somewhere else. That is what I learned from my dream, I think. And that dream gave me some sort of hope. You see, I'd always have dreams where I would just wake up from my bed, get out of my house door, get out of, into the garden and then the other house door, and just leave and continue running in the street. In our streets, I would just continue running. And I remember these dreams, I would feel so free. Like I was running from all the problems in the world, and that I didn't care about anything anymore. And they made me so happy, and I always thought that, running away would make me so happy. I still think so till this day. And I think it's because that I don't belong here. I feel like I don't belong in this family. Simply because they never made me feel like I belong. They never made me feel like I was accepted. That is all for today. Thank you for listening.